How you doing, ladies and gentlemen? Eric Carlson here. I am running for Congress in the 1st Congressional District in Illinois, and I wanted to do a couple quick videos, quicker than my normal ones. And I apologize for the length of my videos that I have out that are based on my stance on issues. But I want everybody to have some of them are 20 or 30 minutes long. I want there to be a record of where I stand on everything so people can go back and not. This one thing I can't stand about politicians is flip-flopping and, oh, you said this and these are views that I've held for a long time. So it's not hard for me to go ahead and put them down there because they're based on knowledge and research over years and decades. And that's how I come to these viewpoints. So it's not just on a whim. If there's something that comes up, an issue or something that I'm not well versed in, I'll absolutely study it to get as much information as I can from as many sources as possible and sift through. And that's a good way to get your information. Don't believe what one person's telling you. You need to take, again, common sense, logic, and reason, folks. You need to take a bunch of different sources, and usually the truth lies somewhere in between. So you get your news across the spectrum, and then you figure out what makes the most sense. And that's pretty much how I live my life, and that's how I would act if I was elected as your congressman. So this is going to be video 21 in my problems and solutions. Not so much problems and solutions for this one, but this is why would you vote for me? I didn't put why you should vote for me. I was thinking about that, and I'm like, well, that's stupid. That's rather kind of arrogant. This is why you should vote for me. I'm going to tell you, why would you vote for me? What sets me apart in your mind, the voter? What would set me apart from another candidate? And I'm going to go just a few points here, and then I'm going to do another video again, try and keep these a little bit shorter. Number one, I'm not a politician. So that should tell you something right there. This is my first time running for anything. As you can tell, this is a very low budget. You see what my videos are. And I have a whiteboard, and this is it. I'm my own campaign, and which brings us to the next thing. I'm not beholden to anyone. I don't owe anybody jobs. I don't owe anybody money. I'm not asking for donations. I'm not taking money from any corporations or businesses, big tech. I don't have any ties to the media, like some of the Democrat candidates are actually career media people on the Democrat side in this particular race. It's just me. I'm just a normal person like you, and I've had enough of watching people that should not have a say in running this country run this place into the ground and divide the American people for their own gain. So I'm not beholden to anyone. And when I say that, and this is, again, this video is going to go off track and go long, but the Republican Party does not and will not put any money or put any effort into the 1st District. Because of the way the districts are drawn, the Democrats in Springfield redrew your congressional map to make sure that a Democrat wins that position. So the Republicans don't even try, which is, in my mind, just absolutely insane. Why wouldn't you try and get the message out there, which is what I'm trying to do. Again, I'm not a politician. I'm not rich. Don't have any money. I'm doing this because I think conservative values, I think most of the people, and when the Democrats come out and tell you the way they drew this map is because they want it to be a, quote, black district in order to have a black representative go to Washington. Well, in my mind, that's about the most racist thing you could possibly say. That you're saying you're drawing a map based on racial boundaries, yet you talk about equity and equality. We're supposed to all be Americans, and we're supposed to have at least generally the same idea of what we want. Safe schools, good schools, safe neighborhoods, jobs for everyone, low taxes, security nationally. That's things that all Americans want. So why you would have to, like the Democrat Party does, put a color on that? Are you saying that a white person can't represent black people in the 1st Congressional District, or Hispanic people or Asian people in the 1st Congressional District? Absolutely not. How could you say that? And then how could you say, if the reverse, if that's true, then how could you say a black person could represent the other groups in the 1st District? It makes absolutely no sense. And this is the party that tells you that they're all about equity and equality. And why don't you just allow people? And I know this. I'm going to do that in another video about myself running in the first congressional district, and why this is. Some people say it's a fool's errand, and then I'll explain to you why it's not a fool's errand. But again, being not a politician, if I can't make an impact and show the people of the first district that I'm representing everyone after 2 years. That's all it is. 2 years. It's not a 4-year presidential term or a 6-year Senate term. 2 years, I'll leave. I'll walk away. I'll put my hands up and say, hey, it was too much for me, or I couldn't do it, or if you're not happy about the way I did it, I'll walk away. So you got that. If you can find a Democrat candidate that will say that, say, hey, I will walk away. I will not even attempt to run in 2 years if I can't get what I want, what I'm laying before the people done. And if you see my video I did on what I would do my first week in Congress, I expect you guys to hold me to that. So term limit legislation, that's a big one. If you can get one of the Democrats or any of the Democrat nominee to come out and say, yes, the first thing I'm going to do is not just say, oh, yes, I'm for term limits, actually put legislation forward. Get with other new congressmen that are going in there. And this is another thing. Whoever you send from this district is going to be a freshman congressman. So whether it's myself or the Democrat, whoever the Democrats get elected, whoever you send is going to be a first-year congressman. So they're, in Washington parlance, it would be, you're the new kid on the block, so you're not going to have a lot of pull or a lot of juice when you go there. And I think that is entirely wrong. I'm going to go there and I'm going to make so much noise that there's no way that they're going to be able to ignore me. And my reasoning behind this is, I don't care if it's Nancy Pelosi or Kevin McCarthy. You represent one district, the same amount of Americans that I would represent. You are no better than me, because that would put your people in your district, make them more important than the people in my district, and that's not the case. So for me to go there and then be told that, oh, you have to, seniority in Congress, no, we're not playing that game. We're going there. I'm going there to represent the people of this district, and I'm going to make noise when I have to. I'll work with people who are willing to work and get all this stuff done, but it's got to be common sense stuff. So the individual liberties and freedom. Now, this is something I'm going to be going on. I'm going to be talking to a lot of the black community about. You're constantly told by the Democrat Party that you're being kept down or held back, and that there's no way for you to get ahead in this country, and it's a racist country and all this. But it's all, if you look at all the Democrat candidates, most of them have bachelor's degrees. A lot of them have master's degrees. There's attorneys, there's politicians in the group. They all have great careers. And then they all tell you, well, they came from the South Side. Well, if they can do it, why can't everyone else in the South Side do it? If all of them went to college, like I said, I'm the only one right now that I know of running on either side that does not have a college degree. So take that for what it is. Maybe that's where the common sense comes from, that I didn't go through the whole educational leftist socialist system to come up with these idiotic things. I actually solve problems on a real daily basis that involve saving people's lives. So giving you your liberties and freedoms. I don't care what color you are. You're an American first. And that's where the Democrat Party seems to, especially in Cook County and Chicago, they want to divide the people, saying, oh, America is not good for, black people and all this stuff. Go into another video. We all live in the greatest country that has ever existed, no matter how we got here, because I did that in another video about, we all came here, all of our ancestors came here for shitty reasons. Either we were brought here against our will, or we were forced to come here economically, or we were brought here as indentured servants, or we came here because we were criminals. Whatever the reason, nobody came here the early days when this country was first settled, and the foundations on which it rests were people that came here out of a bad situation. So I say we've come a long way in a short amount of time. And we have before us the greatest opportunity in this country for wealth and to succeed than anywhere else in the world. And a couple of examples, well, one that really jumps out at me is if you look at the Nigerian immigrant population, so Nigerians that have come here in the last 20 years. Now, these are black Africans who came to a supposedly racist country. Nigerian immigrants to this country make more money, have greater income than all your average whites. They rank in the top group of income earners. And now these are people, immigrants, who didn't necessarily speak English as a first language, and as the Democrat Party will tell you, well, they're people of color, so naturally they're kept down and everything. No, they come here. It's because they have not been pumped into their head for their entire life that you're being kept down, you're being kept down. They came here and it's new to them. So they get here and they say, hey, there's opportunity here, and they go out and they seize that opportunity, and they're successful. And that is what America is about. And you need to stop letting these people who want to control you. I said this before, it's like a harvest. Every 2 years, the Democrat Party just comes through Chicago, and you're expected to vote Democrat, expected to vote Democrat, expected to vote Democrat. And it's, oh yeah, well, it's not getting any better, but I come back and I bring you a few crumbs this time. No, you need to lift this entire thing up and bring it to where you shouldn't need someone to come and tell you, hey, I have to come and save you. You should be so free, independent with your liberties, and so secure in your own job and your own finances that you don't need anybody. And then you look at whoever you're going to send to Washington and say, hey, all right, this is what we'd like to do. You can, instead of what I see a lot on the South Side is people treading water. They're just trying to keep their head above water, and the politicians are just throwing them crumbs because this is it. This is if I don't go to Washington and be able to, and if you elect a Democrat this time, you're going to get the same thing you've had. The district has been Democrat for over 90 years, so nothing's going to change for you. I'm asking you, take a chance for 2 years. 2 years, take a guy who doesn't owe anybody anything, isn't hooked up, doesn't want to stay there for more than a few years, and represents the entire district. Now, this is something that the people out south in the suburbs and the rural areas of the current first district, and now the expanded first district covers more rural area, they've never seen Bobby Rush. They couldn't pick Bobby Rush out of a lineup if they had to. And Bobby Rush doesn't know where most of these places are on a map. And most of the Democrats that all come from Chicago. So right there, you're eliminating any knowledge of the suburbs or the area. I am the only candidate in this that was born in the city of Chicago, has lived in the city, worked in the city, lived in the suburbs, grew up pretty much in the suburbs, worked in the suburbs, worked in the city, and currently work out in rural Kankakee County. So I am more familiar with the entire district. I haven't just driven through it, I've actually lived and worked in all these places across this entire district. I don't think you can say that about one of the Democrat candidates that's running. So when they tell you, they're not even worried, they're probably not even going to campaign in the suburbs, in Will County and down in Kankakee County. They're not going to go out there. They're not going to go out to Godley or Braidwood or down to Bourbonnais. They know that they can get away with this the way it was drawn with just the Chicago vote. So my goal is to represent the entire district, not to ignore anybody, listen to everybody, what they're looking for. And again, going back to the redistricting, if you look at my video on redistricting, I explained to you, there's no way this should have been drawn this way. Everyone should have a representative that's familiar with their area. But the Democrats drew it like this, so we have to deal with what we have right now. But I'd like to get the redistricting done at the federal level so people can, and then you wouldn't have to worry about saying, oh, well, we have to draw it this way to make sure we get a black district or a black representative or a Hispanic representative. You wouldn't need to do that, because if you drew it, you see on the south side, you have a lot of the south side is black. You would have what you would have now. But the way they do it here, it cancels out the rural vote and the suburban vote, and it's ridiculous. The Democrats know that this would be like a 10 Democrat, 7 Republican seat state if it went that way, instead of the way they redrew it, which comes out to be a 14-3, down from a 13-5. Uh, so they tell you about voter suppression and they tell you this, but 45% of the people in this state are not being represented by who they vote for, and they can't because of the way the maps are drawn. So you want to talk about being fair to everyone and give everybody a say in the process. That's how you do that. I'm knowledgeable. I'm probably more knowledgeable on the spectrum of things that are facing us today, from the international to the local to you want to talk about crime, criminal reform, social justice. I probably know more. I am self-taught. I probably know more. And again, I am always open. Any Democrat, anytime, anywhere, I will debate you on any subject. You pick the time, place. We'll go to your neighborhood with all your partisan crowd, and I will stand up there and I will shred you with facts, and that's going to happen. I blame my parents for my intelligence. I take absolutely no credit for it. I had good genes in that department. I'm a problem solver. I run 2 nonprofits. One of them is a disaster response. It's a veteran group. We go down when there's natural disasters, hurricanes, tornadoes, and we actually save people, save animals, distribute food, water, supplies to people, help out law enforcement, help out first responders, set up missions. When we were down in Puerto Rico for a long time, and we were actually running pretty much the western third of Puerto Rico as far as supplying people with food, water, filters to get water out of the mountains. We were doing medical checks on people, and this is all volunteer stuff, and it comes from our military background. We know how to do this thing. So, and this has always been my. If you look at the difference, if you were to ask me what's the difference between a liberal and a conservative, now, for some reason, people have a knee-jerk reaction. They hear conservative and they think, oh, it's an evil person. He's coming to take you and he's a rich. No, that's not what conservatism is. Being conservative means that you look at things logically and practically and you try and figure it out. So the difference in an emergency between a liberal and a conservative is the liberal is screaming. You usually can hear him yelling and pointing and yelling about the problem and complaining about the problem and pointing at you and yelling at you because you're not yelling about the problem. Well, that's because as a conservative, what you're doing is sitting back and taking a measure of everything, and you're going to figure out how to fix the problem. But you get accused of not being emotional about the problem. I don't need to be emotional about the problem. If I fix the problem, then we don't have to be emotional about the problem. So that's a difference you'll see in liberals. And saying that you're a conservative doesn't mean that that you don't have liberal leanings on certain things like social stuff and kids programs and healthcare for the elderly and things like this. Democrats have pumped this into people for so long that Republicans and conservatives are the party of the rich and they're just coming to take stuff from you. That's a lie, folks. That's a lie. Here I am in my basement. I'm running a campaign. My goal is to spend under $2,000 on this campaign. There's no money in my campaign. So this is why I'm not beholden to anyone. The Democrat in the last election in the 1st district, Bobby Rush spent over $500,000 to defeat a Republican candidate who spent $6,000. Now he got 73% of the vote and she got just over 26%. If you draw that out into how much money was spent per vote, she blew him out of the water. But the thing is that without a lot of money, you can't get your voice out there. So I'm asking people to share this stuff and get word out because I don't have the money to do this. I have a plan. I'm going to be going around doing a lot of stuff to get word out, but I don't think of what $500,000 could have done. You could have set up a nice You could have had a youth center. You could have built a new youth center in one of the South Side neighborhoods for that $500,000 that went for that election. There's way too much money spent on elections, folks, and that's part of the whole reform that I'm going for in Congress. Because if we don't straighten out Congress, we can't straighten out the rest. If we don't get the right people in there and end this career politician 20, 30, 40 years in Washington, it benefits not us. It only benefits them and their friends. Problem solver, leadership, military leadership, running businesses, nonprofits. I've actually done this stuff. You know, it hands-on done it. Not like currently here we have in the 3rd congressional district Marie Newman, who supposedly I read her bio before she ran. She's been there a year and she's under criminal investigation now for stuff she did in the last election. But she was supposedly on a board for a nonprofit. Well, I'm not on boards of nonprofits. I actually run and hands-on helping people, pulling people out of floodwaters. So these are just some of the things, folks. Again, it's why would you vote for me? You could sit there again and get the same thing you've got for the last 30 years of Bobby Rush or the last 90 years of the Democrat Party in Roseland and Englewood and Robbins, and you could sit there and you could do the same thing, just pounding your head against the wall. Or for 2 years, you give you give me a chance for 2 years. Like I said, if I can't do it, I'll walk away, and then you can elect the 15 people that were running. You can decide between them. But what does it hurt you to give someone else a chance? And yesterday was a great day. I was out on the South Side and then at Evergreen Park, and I was talking to a lot of people and had some really good conversations with people. You realize that every black person that I spoke to, every black person's door that I went to, signed my petition. That should tell you something right there. If you go on my website, ericcarlsonforcongress.com, I have a little section there and it says, are we really that divided? And it's a military themed thing. It goes back, I explained this before, to Korea and Vietnam. And it shows soldiers, black and white soldiers together, fighting in Korea and fighting in Vietnam, wounded, helping each other. And the reason I chose those 2 wars was because in the 50s and the 60s, look where the country was here as opposed to how it is when you actually have to depend on somebody and you're friends with somebody and you rely on the other guy. You don't care what race he is. And this is the message that I'm trying to get to people. We are all Americans. We're all in this together. We all want the same thing. I want everyone in this district, everyone in this country to be successful, happy, wealthy, have everything they want, everything they need. But we can't get there if we have people that are constantly telling us we need to be fighting. And this guy, your neighbor's trying to take something from you and this and that. It doesn't work that way, folks. It doesn't work that way. If politicians and the media would just shut up and leave us alone, the American people get along just fine. They're even spoiling our sports with this stuff, with all this political nonsense that they put in. We can't even sit down and watch a baseball or football game together because there's got to be something flashed in front of you that's meant to divide us. It's got to stop, folks. So all I'm asking is a 2-year shot. 2-year shot, that's it, And I'm pledging right now. This is another thing that I brought up because I want to get pay for Congress should be cut. Pay for Congress should be cut to the median income for an American. Whatever the average American citizen makes per year, that should be the pay for a congressman. Okay? This is how you tie this to success. So if the country's doing better and there's more income for everybody, then the congressman would get paid. There's your bonus right there for actually doing your job. Not just getting $173,000, which is about more than 3 times what the average person makes in a year. About 9 times what I made last year. But I will pledge right now, go to Congress. Salary right now is $173,000. I'll pledge up front half a year's salary just to a project that will be donated to projects in the district, and we'll divide them up. We'll figure out how we're going to do it, and of course got to get the paycheck first before you can do it. So whenever I can get a lump sum or whatever it is, but see how many congressmen running in this are going to pledge half their pay right up front. I do the whole thing, but I'm sure I'm going to need airfare to get back and forth. I don't need much to live on. You know, I could live on ramen if I had to. I've done that before. So, again, folks, this is just video part one, and we ran 25 minutes anyway. So I apologize again for the long things, but at least you have these records to go back and check it out. So please visit my website, check out my other videos, and see where I stand. Give me a chance. Thanks.